Welcome to British Business, The Bottom Line. Every week, me and Matt sit down to talk about the real stuff, the news affecting your business, the lessons we've learned the hard way, and the things nobody tells you when you're running your own show. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for years, this one's for you. I'm Charlie Smith.
And I'm Matt Holland.
Let's get into it.
Hello, Matthew.
How are you, Charlie?
I'm right,
Looking
mate.
Very well.
Yeah, great week. We've had a great week, haven't we? We kicked off the week with a good win in Mexico City, which was fantastic. Started with a late night / early morning. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good now, and we got a nice quarterfinal to look forward to on Saturday night. We're filming this on Thursday, the 9th of the 7th. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, mate. Do you want to talk about work? Is that what we've got to talk about as well?
We can talk about the football if you want, mate.
And Arthur Ferry yesterday as well. Whoa, straight into the semi-finals of Wimbledon. That is special. It's been a decent week, it has, for British sport. Let's be honest.
Well, we've had many years of not great British sport, so
60 years
it's
of
nice
hurt.
to. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been all right, mate.
Well,
I've actually yeah, it's been all right. It's bloody hot, mind. That's been a killer. That has been absolutely ruining me this week. Our unit is a joke. For context, it's about, I don't know where everyone lives that listens, the 3 people that listen, but it's about 33 degrees each day here at the moment. No sign of any clouds, no sign of any rain. But inside our unit, about midday, it must be 44 degrees. It's ridiculous. So, and we're positioned upstairs on a mezz floor. Is where we got the desk. So he just sits in the eaves, and he just sit in this warm air. And then we put fans on, and the fans just make you sweat even more.
It's like having someone fan you in a
Oh,
sauna.
it's awful. Oh, absolutely awful. I moved downstairs to the little foyer yesterday, and I've got a sit-stand desk down there that's just plonked in the middle of just in the foyer of our building. And it doesn't work, it isn't plugged in, so it doesn't go up and down. So I was just sat there with this desk up to here, just sat on a chair, just typing. But yeah, it was a little bit better down. It's a little bit more bearable down there, to be fair. So yeah, that's what we're struggling at the moment. But we're trying to fight on. We're trying to fight on, regardless of the discomfort, which is hard at times because it makes you feel very lethargic, I think, trying to battle through all day, every day. But yeah. Apart from that, I'm all good. What about you? You all right?
Well, I mean, just on the weather point, I think we've obviously got team staff in India, and there's a guy called Lawrence who's our web developer, and he's got his own business over there, and then he does contract work for us. He's on like a retainer. Great guy, but I know for a fact that in India, he listens to the podcast, by the way, Lawrence does, so shout out to Lawrence. He messaged me this morning saying he enjoys it and asking me how I was. But the weather over there, like the temperature and the humidity is like another level. So I don't know if anyone listening has been out to India, but India is another level of heat and humidity. So I think, but what someone said to me was like heat in the UK, it's like a different type. It's very like dry heat because there's no humidity. It's like, I don't know. Yeah,
well,
it's not nice.
Regardless, I think it's been bloody hot. I do get your point, though. Context is important. I think there's lots of places on the planet which are, we're far worse off than, but we're just not used to it, are we? We moan about it when it's pissing down with rain and freezing cold, and then we moan about it when it gets too hot. It's just, we never find a happy medium, but maybe that's in our nature just to keep moaning. I know I like a moan.
And just for context, anyone listening that does listen to the podcast, all 3 of you, don't be afraid of messaging us and giving us some feedback on the podcast because we want to make it better. A couple of people have been giving me some candid feedback about Charlie, which I won't talk on air about.
What?
No. People say you're amazing. People say you're the A-side.
He's ill-prepared. Ill-prepared. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
For life.
he seems to wing everything. No, not me. I don't know who you're talking about. I think you got the wrong guy.
I think you had a lot of personality to this podcast because I think it'd be very boring if we just had me talking in monotone.
Wow, you got to try and add something, mate, haven't we?
Yeah, with some flair. And
sorry, I'm just texting your mate Danny back because he's confusing me with stuff.
He's not my mate.
Yeah, he is. You love him. He's not my mate. He's not my mate. He's my subordinate.
No, I love Danny. Okay.
Can I touch on a point first before you start talking through your show notes? I haven't spoken to you about this, but last week on the podcast we mentioned something about your point was about when we go back into the weeds and the operations, we're moving towards something that is comfort. That was kind of your stress. You said we do that because it makes us feel comfortable, but that's been playing on my mind since we last recorded. Can you hear the birds? That's really cute. Isn't it? That's been playing on my mind a lot in the last week because I disagree. I don't think it's a comfort thing. I think it comes from a level of discomfort. And I think it comes from being uncomfortable with the way in which your business operates, I think. So, I think what it does is it highlights other areas of the business that are maybe weak and not strong enough. And instead of thinking it needs me to solve, you need to be there solving the systems and the processes to mean that you can actually be comfortable with pulling yourself away from it. So I think if I was just kind of like reframing it, I'm thinking, well, I jump in and get involved in things where I think our customers having a shit level of service or we're not doing something right. And I think that is the right thing to do, but I think it's wrong that we have to do that. And then I think we need to step back and think, well, why am I having to do that? Well, I'm having to do that because I actually haven't fixed this thing. That means that I've then got to jump in to sort it out. Does that make sense? It's just been playing on my mind a little bit this last week.
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think you could be partially correct. So if a system is failing or not working, what you're saying is you do have to get stuck in.
Yeah, just with us, it's general, like, okay, where are we at? Where are we at with this job? Why is this one not done yet? Why is this one? I mean, those are things that I guess you need to step in and review anyway, as when you're a business owner. But if I'm there saying, okay, can we not just do this one now and then we move that one to tomorrow and we make sure we've got that one ready to go in the morning so I can let this person know this, that, and the other?
Well, what you're doing there is you're almost like you're doing Kieran's job for him. You're micromanaging like the middle, and actually what you need to do is probably give him the room to manage it, do it the way he wants, organize the day-to-day in terms of the production or whatever it might be. Let it fail a bit and then go to him, Kieran, why have we not delivered on time? Why have we not hit SLA? And then step in and work with him on how to re-engineer what he did to get a better outcome. So
do you think it's not giving enough?
I think you actually have to
it's
allow
hard,
him.
Isn't it? Ooh.
Yeah, but it's important. Listen, Danny will be listening to this thinking, "Fucking hell, Matt, you're a hypocrite," which I am partially. But I'm consciously aware that it's something that, okay, I'll do it a little bit, but it's been really hard for me. But what I'm saying to you is the important thing is you have to let people manage it themselves, trip up a little bit. And then what you can do is you can go, oh, what's going on with this? Or, oh, what's going on with that?
Just frame it differently.
Yeah. And I don't get it right all the time. Danny knows that, but
I think it is because I feel uncomfortable with the way in which some of the things are going. I think that's why I do it, but you're right.
So manage him on output, and then manage him on standards. That's the other thing. So you can have output, SLA, so service level agreement, agree with him what is a fair and reasonable turnaround time for a standard or whatever it might be. You and him need to discuss that. And then separately, you have standards. So standards, which might be health and safety, cleanliness, tidiness, the nitpicky stuff that you can pull people up on, because that's like stuff that should happen on a muscle memory basis, keeping the shift and keeping the operation tidy and clean and squared away. They're two separate things. But I stand by what I said. I think it is you or I step into those things and get involved in the operation and the detail, because I think it's founded in comfort. I think it's because you want to be comfortable and make sure that everything is the way you want it to be. And actually you need to be uncomfortable and allow that system, that operation to fail a little bit so that Kieran gets the experience, or someone in Danny's team gets the experience of getting it wrong. And then you can have a constructive discussion, or they can have a constructive discussion in my scenario to fix it. I shouldn't be involved in any of that now.
No.
Which is something I'm really trying hard to do. And I would hope that if you were to ask Danny, and you should ask Danny, I think he'll say that in the last 12 months, I've definitely moved away from the operation more. If we look year on year, I was very involved in it a year ago. But it's been a hard thing for me to do. I found it really difficult. Yeah. I'm very detail orientated. It's interesting. Good thing that you picked up on there.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make that point in the start. 10 minutes.
That's good. That's good. It's nice for you to bring stuff to the.
Well, I do try sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you.
I don't want to leave it all. I don't want to leave it all on your shoulders.
Well,
I know you got a lot on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's good because it's a partnership, and I do the show notes, and you post the content on Instagram, and we work together.
Like magnet and steel. Like magnet and steel. We come together like magnet and steel.
Beautiful. Anyway, do you want to hear do you want to do episode title and then win of the week, or do you want to do
you tell me.
Let's do win of the week.
I know I've committed to something else this week.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm going to call you out on something as well. Yeah. So win of the week, Charlie. What is your win of the week?
Win of the week, Matthew, is that I have started my first 90-day plan, and I reckon I've made some good progress in the first 4 days.
Okay, so
do you want to do it now? Because that is my win of the week.
Okay, well, so let's just stick on win of the week. So because win of the week is the fact that you've taken action.
I have taken action. The specific part is I've moved. We talked about it before. We have a website for work renovation, aging. Don't think it fulfills the purpose in which it needs to, but we didn't have control of our domain. That was with an agency, and we didn't have control of our DNS settings either. So this week we've moved that, and by Friday we'll have that back under our own in-house control.
Well, I think the new website that's already live, by the looks of it, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's done. That's okay. I do have another 90-day plan for that as well, further development. But yeah. But work renovation one's a big one. We talked about it, haven't we? About like new, shiny, getting involved in something else. I think I need to bring myself back down to the point we need to sort this one out. Go on.
You know the new version of the work renovation site is live.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, I don't have a new version of a work renovation site.
Well, it's changed since I last looked.
Yeah. The homepage has. Yeah, we've done some development on the homepage to simplify it.
Right. Okay.
But that was a bit of a lengthy process. A lot of back and forth. And
when did you change that?
Probably went live about 4 weeks ago.
All right. So I'm not.
It was like it was like a simplification. Make the homepage more simplified, a little bit cleaner, less moving parts. So we have done that, but we want to take that further.
Okay. Well, listen, I've got some thoughts on that immediately. So ask me after the episode. I'll be some points.
Sounds good.
Anyway,
that's my win of the week. So I've taken action, made progress, and bought some stuff in house, which that's been milling about for a long, long time. So I was like, right, bang! It's the first part of the 90-day plan. It's important in the foundation stage of what I want to achieve. That's what I've done this week. And actually, I think we do that a lot, don't we? We use third-party agencies, and I think they are fantastic. They're full of very, very skilled people, and I haven't got a bad word to say about ours. And they've been super helpful this week. Really, really good on the advice. Fantastic. But I think there's sometimes I think you just need to take we need to take a little bit more control of those sorts of things in-house because we have the ability to. More people, more skill set in-house than we have done before. So now's the time to keep pushing on so we can further develop it. So yeah, that's my win of the week.
Yeah. Well, I think just on the note of agencies and third parties, I think it's good to bring in expertise now and again. But then ideally you want to have stuff in-house. You don't want to be in a situation where you're a 7-figure business, you hit £1 million turnover and you've got this big agency doing that, this big agency doing that, because actually part of the growth of the business is bringing in the expertise, learning to manage it. Because then the problem is when you go from 1 million to 5 million, you do have to have teams. And if you've not gone through that journey early on of managing projects or people, basically businesses that are very reliant upon third-party agencies don't really actually have a business to a certain degree because there's nothing.
There's no asset there, is there?
There's no
skill.
there's nothing. Yeah, exactly. And part of the saleability of the business is the people within it and the contracts that they have and all the rest of it. Using third parties costs you more,
Yeah.
100%.
I think it goes back to what you were saying last week about that kind of like that. I don't know what phrase you use, but you know, like that decision lag as well. So when you get excited about something, you initiate some conversations. You try and get those changes made, and because of the it often can be like sluggish, a lot of to and fro, and a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversation. That actually, by the time it comes through, you're like, nah, should have done this ages ago. Wanted it like now. That was the idea. This is where we need to move for. Let's get on. Let's execute it, and let's move on to the next project or the next part of that project.
I'd be interested to know for like people listening if they agree with what you've just said there. If you agree or disagree with what Charlie said, just comment, because we read all the comments. There's been some good ones this week, but I think that decision lag and that kind of hesitation or that over eagerness, it can create problems. And it's funny actually, because a lot of the time, like problems that happen in business, it's not due to external factors. Obviously, it's down to the entrepreneur most of the time, where the decision's been made too quickly or it's not been made fast enough, and you're kind of stuck in that kind of like that situation where, and it can go the other way, where sometimes you might make decisions too quickly on things and then you make a mistake, and then you get into this situation where you've been too overly hesitant on making decisions in a business. So yeah, I think I
think most of our issues come from, like, you have a moment, you sit there, you review it, you think, oh, that could actually be better. I think that's quite a quick fix. We need to put a plan in place to do that. You don't send the email straight away, or you don't write it down, or a reply comes back in after you've initiated that conversation, and you think, oh shit, I've been distracted now. This is right now. This is now not as important as the thing that I'm currently doing. And next thing you know, it's on the back burner. You've lost 3 months, and actually the point you made 3 months ago is now irrelevant, and you've got to start it all over again. That's the bit, I think, is those. I don't think it's like rushing into anything big and going too heavy. But I think that level of indecision when something, you're talking like small changes, aren't you? Like, oh, that page isn't right, or, we could do that little bit better, or that doesn't quite work. Can we just like sort that out really quickly? And then you just forget about it, and all of a sudden 6 months, 12 months pass, and you're still in the same boat you were 12 months ago with it.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I'm thinking of right now for me is the whole concept of micro and macro. James Sinclair talked to me about this. I had a one-to-one with him in 2024. And he said to me, Matt, you're spending too much time in the micro. You need, and micro, just to be clear, for people understand, is small day-to-day things you can hire people to do. It's tasks, it's doing stuff. And he said, you now in your business, you need to be spending a higher percentage of your time working on macro stuff, big stuff, buying a warehouse, doing X, doing Y, driving revenue, buying businesses, etc., etc. And the macro and the micro changes dependent upon and how much time you should spend in both, depending on the circumstances of the business. So if the business is, if you're in the stage where you're having to operate, you're obviously going to be spending more time in the micro. So you understanding where you should spend time and at what point during your business's journey, during your journey of running your business is so important, I think. And I think it's something I've consciously thought about, is where I'm investing time. And like, say for example, you've had this other project that's been simmering off in the background. That was a macro project. It was important to the business. And within macro, there's other projects that you could have prioritized, which is what you're talking about, I think. But you dipped into there, like the micro. And I think basically for business owners to grow the business, you have to be not doing the micro. That's really important.
Yeah.
Win of the week for me. I suppose that last night I actually rang you, but I went for a walk, and I've just been, I suppose, a moment of reflection on, and last week I touched on the whole like 2 years ago, June versus 2 years ago. two years into the future. So now, like, where the business is, revenue, cash, and all the rest of it. This is like, so there's a date coming up in the diary, which is quite significant for my life and my business. And it's like it's a date which signifies significant failure. And I've got a recurring calendar invitation to myself. I don't really want to get into what it is, but it's effectively my rock bottom in business, if you like. It's like, it was not a nice thing what happened on that day, etc., etc. But I failed. And my win of the week is actually a few years on from that period, and that challenge is like on Saturday, which is very, very close to this particular day, coincidentally. We were having this big barbecue for the business. So we've got suppliers coming, we've got staff, we've got employees, partners, contacts that we have. They're all coming to this big barbecue. We've got some partnerships that are simmering within the deer stalking space in the UK, where we've got some people coming and they're butchering a deer carcass at the barbecue, and people. So it's like literally field to plate, which is like amazing, so sustainable, amazing. But the key thing there is like, it's a gathering of like, and I look back and I go, Jesus, that point, that date that's in my calendar, that feels so insignificant now, but important as well to remember, because the progress and the evolution that's happened in this period, but also the fact that there's 65, 70 people coming like to this event. And when I joined the business back in 2014, it was just me and Mark.
Mm.
I joined as an employee, and then now there's 65 people coming to an event to do with the business. It's crazy.
Mm.
And that's just for one of the websites. That's just for Holland's Country Clothing. So for me, it's just for my win this week is like a moment of pause and growth, I think, which is similar to last week, but I don't do that very often. I don't think about how
That's
far
big
I've
for you.
come.
That is big. 2 weeks running, you're doing the same thing. I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, I suppose I'm in a position of a moment of reflection. It's the quietest period of the year. Basically, this week is like, so June and July are the two quietest months of the year for our business. Still doing good numbers, but it every week gets busier now. So my mind is very calm at the moment, even though there's
I was going to say
lots of projects.
that's unusual for you as well. That was going to be an observation I was just going to make. Do you think it's helping you right now with some of the things you're trying to work on? So you said like almost being like a little bit more remote, less micro, allowing yourself to step away from those micro tasks which you're actively trying to work on. Do you think the fact that you've stopped and you've tried to slow down a little bit, which is quite unusual for you, is helping you with those sorts of things?
Yeah, I need to focus more on big picture thinking now. And don't get me wrong, what will happen is I'll have a period now where I'll focus on big picture thinking, and then business will grow and then problems will happen, and then I'll have to maybe step in a little bit more. But I think I've been in that cycle for a while now where I fix the issues, create opportunity, business grows, more issues occur, and I get involved. And the big thing that needs to change this cycle is that I need to use my people to fix the issues rather than me doing it myself. And I think if I can do that in this next cycle that I'm entering, because we're about to enter a growth phase in the business, where, we've been growing 20% year on year, but I think in the next 12, 18 months, we'll probably do like 40% growth, maybe 50% growth year on year. I think we're going to be firing, but there'll be problems off the back of it. And I need to really hold strong to not jump in and fix the issues. I need to let the team fix the issues and me just coach them through that.
Do you think though, like mentally, you're in a place where you've got yourself to a level which will allow you to then go and do that? Because you almost, to me, at the moment, you seem a lot calmer.
I've created a lot of stress and pressure for myself this year. And I think pressure is good, but I think for you to make good decisions, you need to be calm. And I'm really, really trying, and I'm heading away to France for 6 weeks.
I can see it. I can definitely see that.
And I've been journaling a bit more than I have been earlier this year. So I think so. Win of the week for me is progress again, same thing, but kind of like reflection. And I think just take a moment. If you're in your business operating, just take a moment to think and write down the things that are going well, because we sometimes forget that. We're always obsessed with not what's not working, if that makes sense. So I want to spend about 10 minutes on this, 5 minutes on this, 5-10 minutes. Charlie's 90-day plan. Tell us a little bit more about it. Tell us also, start off with why in the past you felt Matt's full of shit. This goal setting is fucking woo-woo. Like,
I've always found
this
it.
guy-
I've always found it a little bit woo-woo.
Yeah, but I remember in January, February, and guys, go back and listen to when Charlie started coming on the podcast and partnered with me on it. And we had an episode in January where I went through my goals for the year, and he was like, I've not fucking done any of this fucking point. I mean, I've thrown you under the bus here, but I want you to take a moment, and I want people listening to, if people agree with that, of like, why have you changed? What was your thoughts? Like, just explain like about goal setting and where you were with it, where you are now.
I've always felt like because we've always run like a small businesses to me, I mean, so some of the things we've just been talking about, small businesses for me always felt like you just, you muck in here and you muck in there, and you trade and you work hard and you solve problems and you sort things out for your customers, and you do that on the daily, and you gather more customers, and slowly you grow giving this kind of good level of service and doing this thing. And it's always felt like a little worm where you're just like meandering on this journey, and you're learning things as you go, and you're making decisions on the fly, and it's all fun and it's all exciting, and it's what gets you up in the morning. And it's that no 2 days being the same that makes it exciting, that makes it not difficult to get up in the morning and go to work, etc., etc. So for me, goal setting always felt like I was limiting that, so to speak. I felt like when you write things down, you're kind of like, okay, so we get to that, and then what? Okay, we just write down another few things, and we set a few more goals. And I think sometimes it felt to me like we were limiting what we could achieve in a set period of time, and almost taking away some of that excitement. But I think as I've done more of this sort of stuff, and I've listened, I listen to more, I read more, I've spent more time like working on me, and then trying to focus on the bigger picture within the business. I feel like as my mind becomes more and more busy, it's probably right that we start to write things down, set goals, and try and set achievable targets. And I think the realization for me come quite recently. The decision to do so we've been tinkering around with like website development and stuff. And the decision to go ahead and do one of those come as off the back of not selling a lot of one particular product group. I was like, fucking hell, like we should be doing more of this. We should be doing more of this. And we weren't. And I was like, why don't we just go and do this? And we started making a website for a separate product group. Got really, really excited about it. Gone and developed it. It works at the moment. It ain't going to work. It's not going. It's going to be a slow burner. It's going to be something that's that kind of gets better. We hope, and we keep developing it as time moves on, and we start to grow that area of the business.
It's a long play.
It is a long play. It's definitely a long play. And I think I realized it was a long play, but there was almost like, oh my God, it's new. We don't do a lot of this. This is excitement. This is a tag on. This is extra revenue in a different class of what we've been doing before. And then you start doing you sit there and you start doing that. And then all of a sudden, like two more ideas pop in. So I've got like 2 or 3 now running in the background, and I'm doing a little bit of an average job at all 3. And I think when we sat there talking last week, I was like, fucking hell, why didn't I just start and look at the website that we already have and try and leverage the position that we've already got and all the hard work that we've done for the last 5-6 years now? Why am I not just sticking with that? And I think when we were talking in last week's episode, we talk about like some of the things dragging out longer than they should have done. And you specifically talked about like 90-day plans. And I thought, well, if I had targeted myself with achieving some of those things in a set amount of time, I'd have done one of them by now. I'd have been on to the next one. But instead, all I've done is I've got now 4 separate projects running, and none of them are actually complete. And if I was to look back at the time which I started, I guarantee I'm past 90 days now. So for me, I think now is probably the time where I start to set some more structure for myself and for the business, because the way in which I've behaved has got us so far. But I don't think if I continue doing what we're doing, then I'm going to get to the point where we take it to the next level.
Yeah. So
That was a
what
long
you've
speech, that. I reckon that was about a 15-minute speech.
it was, but yeah, no, it's good. So I'm just going to break it down. So the first bit that you kind of articulate this period where you're in the day to day,
Yeah.
and you're getting stuck in, and you feel the goal setting is maybe like not overly relevant, and that's why there was a bit of pushback earlier.
It's like, it's a bit woo-woo, isn't it? It's like,
well,
sometimes you think you're not worthy
yeah.
of that sort of thing because you're like,
Yeah,
well, my
so-
level's really small. I'm not a £5-10 million business.
yeah, but do you want to be?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So if you want to grow, so anyone listening, if you want to be a busy idiot, running a business, operating the business, running around like a fucking headless chicken, and then waking up when you're 55 in the same problem,
Do
and
what Charlie was doing.
having and basically kind of running around chasing your tail, operating in this reactive firefighting mode, chasing the little wins, the little dopamine hits. Don't do
That's
90
what
day
it is.
planning.
That is definitely what it is.
Don't-
It is dopamine.
Do not
hits.
do 90 day planning. Do not think about long term goals. Do not think about medium term, which is 90 day, and do not think about short term goals. Because if you want to stay in that firefighter mode where your business is like doing 5% growth or like just kind of chunneling along, you're not making it. Don't set any goals, because then you can guarantee that you'll stay in the same position. If you do want to grow your business and you want to have more money for yourself, having paid your staff and HMRC and all the fucking bullshit we have to put with, set some goals. Because I believe there is a significant correlation between business owners and us being a little bit different. We're a bit all over the place, in my opinion. I think a lot of business owners, they're like very creative. We sit in this kind of like this ADHD category, whatever. And I don't want to label people, but we're definitely not normal. Like we're problem solvers. We like shiny objects. We like doing stuff. And there's different types of business owners as well. But my natural inclination is for me to be doing lots of things at the same time and going for the shiny objects. So I have to put goals in place. And I've been guilty of not doing this at times, and I've done it really well. And sometimes I have to go back to it and go, right, now I do need to get back on with my goal setting and stick to the straight and narrow. But if you want a good, well-structured business, you need to set goals, and you need to move away from the reactive and firefighting kind of mindset and behavior towards the preemptive and strategic behavior. And you can do that even if you are operating your business. If you are doing £500,000 turnover or £250,000 turnover or £100,000 turnover, you need to be spending a percentage of your time in that preemptive strategic mindset, whether it's 10, 15%. And then as the business grows, you spend more and more time. So I need to be spending 95% of my time in preemptive and strategic thinking and that kind of behavior. Whereas when I've had to like really drive it forward, I've probably spent a little bit more time being reactive and being firefighting in kind of approach and strategy. So my view, and I want to hear what you kind of set yourself, but these long, medium and short goals, like the 90-day thing is the medium, but you need to understand, and you mentioned before, there's a project or a goal that you have with this side thing, which is maybe a distraction from the here, now, right now. That side thing is still really important for long goals and long strategic directions. So you need those as well. And then the medium and the short help you get towards it. So what have you set for yourself? Have you put anything tangible down?
Just the first 90-day plan, really. So I've not thought too much about short, medium and longer term. I spent a little bit of time thinking about, we phrased it as our North Star. I've spent a little bit of time thinking about that. But I'm not at a stage yet where I think I've chunked it down into short, medium and long. I've just gone straight in there with the,
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of an epiphany. I should have been doing this anyway. This project, this thing is going to be my first 90-day plan. But I do, before the record, I do think I should be spending time thinking about what my short, medium, and long-term goals are.
I think
So
basically
there's a little bit of more of a realization there for me. How I structure that, what they are, how long we're talking, I'm not too sure yet. But
okay, well, I think we should revisit this next week as well and just have a bit of a check-in on the long, medium, and short and the 90-day. Let's not go into the detail now. So let's save this and carry on and have another little segment on the goal setting. But what I just want to say for people listening as well is if you're thinking, do you know what, I need to do a bit of a 90-day plan. I need to do what Charlie's done and do what Matt's doing. Like, what I would really strongly advise you to do is spend most of the time, the next week or two, thinking about your long-term goals and what your North Star is in business. And I think if you can't answer that question or you're really struggling with it, a very short and concise way of approaching it is time and money. Most people want time and money to do whatever their North Star is. That's the reality. That means you need to fucking grow the business. So if you can't identify exactly what the North Star is, well, the goal for the business is to create more time for you and to create more money for you. That's the ultimate thing, and or time and money to manage the business. So it's kind of like you end up in that situation and then start writing down and thinking about strategy on how you can end up in that situation, how you can grow the business, how you can do X or Y. But I do think identifying that North Star is super important as well, because that becomes the motivator to pursue the road. Because otherwise you're navigating blind, or you don't really understand what the purpose and where the energy needs to come from for that forward inertia. Just my opinion. Jacob Lockwood. Have I told you what Jacob Lockwood has been saying to me about me saying what I say in my opinion? Just like he's been trolling me a little bit, but anyway.
Just for saying in my opinion.
Yeah, he's being mean to me. He's picking on me. Right. Should we do British business facts?
My North Star. I identified my North Star as being the reason in which I do it is because I want to see what I'm actually capable of. So it's a little bit, because I think more time, the time and money thing comes as a result of growing a successful business, right? So I don't necessarily feel like it's hard to say money's not a motivator, because it 100% is, isn't it? Let's be honest.
You need money to do the things.
Yeah, you do. But I think if it was the sole reason I was doing it, I'd be going selling someone else's products. I spoke to you about that before, and I think I'd be working myself into a commission-based role, and I'd be clawing it if that was all that was important to me. But I actually want to see what I am capable of achieving, what I am capable of creating, what I am capable of running, managing, structuring. Like, that's the bit that for me that's really exciting. Like, what could it get to? And I think that's you really don't know, do you? Let's be honest. You can set all the goals you like, but we don't know what the next opportunity that might arise might be. We don't know how we're going to position ourselves in that marketplace, and we don't know where we're going to end up. But we can put the building blocks in place to find out what we're capable of. Is there a limit to what I'm capable of? And I think that's the bit for me. That's what motivates me. But I also think that might be a negative, in a sense that because of that feeling, that might be why I behave the way I do, running what I do at the moment. Because I don't have because I haven't identified a ceiling, or I haven't identified a target range. That actually I'm just not milling about, but I'm just grafting away in the day to day with no clear structure on how to get to point.
Well, I think that North Star, a lot of people will connect with that kind of mindset of like, I want to become better, I want to reach my potential, etc., etc. But the problem is it's not tangible.
No, it's not
a real. And I think this is the key thing here: is you need to pick a North Star or a direction that is a bit more tangible. I think that is a byproduct of that will happen if you pick your North Star and you head towards it and you identify. Basically, it's a vision of what your future needs to look like, or what the path creates for people. Or maybe we'll talk about this more in another episode. But there's some interesting things there. I think basically, spend less time in reactive and firefighting mode, spend more time in preemptive and strategic, and think about long, medium, and short-term goals in relation to what your North Star or long goal is.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we reveal the episode of the title of the episode? 40 minutes in. Should we do that?
Yeah.
And then we'll spend 10 minutes talking about the actual topic. Now we've
Okay.
spent 40 minutes on the chaff.
Okay.
We're
good at this, aren't we?
Yeah, we are good at this. Should we let weak businesses fail as a country? Should we let weak businesses fail? That is the title of today's episode. Don't answer the question, Charlie. So, British business fact of the week. And I think we've kind of had this fact before, but I want to revisit it. So, according to the ONS business demography, is that a word?
Demography. I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
But
So according to the ONS, so the Office for National Statistics business data, we'll just miss that word out. The 5-year survival rate for UK businesses born in 2019 was 38.4%. Now we had this fact on a few episodes ago, but I wanted to bring it back because it was kind of like we didn't angle it from, I think, the right perspective. So basically, 40% of businesses that were created in 2019 failed. So in plain terms, this is what Claude has said, roughly 3 in every 5 new businesses in the UK are gone within 5 years. Pretty horrible fact. We touched on it a few weeks ago, but I want to angle it in now and take it from the perspective of saying, like, is that maybe a good thing? Like, should the country allow that to happen? I mean, what are your first initial thoughts? Because I've got a few points I want to frame around this, but like, where do you think I'm going with this?
I think my first thoughts are yes, they should be able to fail, because not every business idea should work or does work or has a place in the market at the time in which it's brought to market. Everyone thinks they have a great idea, but unless you've got a willing audience to purchase whatever it is you're selling, then it might be a great idea in your head, but it might not be marketable. But also, I think it's important that actually we set the trading conditions for people to be successful. So I think lots of people that are starting from a point where they got their hands tied behind their back and lead in their shoes, because actually it's really, really difficult for people to get things off the ground in the first place that might otherwise have been a great idea. You talk about like, at what stage do you VAT register? That moved ever so slightly up, didn't it? But the reality is that people that trade inside that and don't charge VAT for the first X get to a point where all of a sudden their prices have to go up by 20%. It's a big jump. It's really, really difficult for people to know when to make that jump and decide to go for it. We went for it from day dot, so we didn't have anything to worry about kind of in an X amount of time or whatever. But you need to be able to, you need to set the market conditions and make it not easy, but give people a chance to survive, give people a chance to make it work.
I mean, my view is like certain ideas, certain business models. So certain ideas and certain kind of concepts that business owners come up with, they're not good enough. They're going to fail. Like,
agreed.
Part of it is what it is. But also, over time, business models that have worked historically don't work in the future. That happens as well. And that happens due to things outside of the business owner's control. So, for example, the moment in the UK, the cost of energy, the cost of like to heat your home or to heat your business or to turn the stoves off in the kitchen, in the restaurant, it's very, very expensive. So what can business owners do to change that? Well, should we change the VAT in hospitality? I think we probably should, because it employs a lot of people, but maybe hypothetically we shouldn't. Maybe that particular model, it does need to change. Maybe we're in a situation as a country where we do need to be paying more for energy. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that over time, models can evolve and change. And is it right that we then end up, because of labor cost or whatever, propping up industry or business? Should we fight the inevitable, or should we allow it to happen? So like the whole debate between the high street versus online retail, do you go, right, well, we need to protect the high street. We need to make sure the high street survives. we're going to tax online retail more. We're going to increase business rates in warehousing, so that these businesses, if we even the playing field a little bit. But ultimately, the consumer just wants convenience. So the consumer just wants to buy online because it's convenient for them. So all you're doing is you're making it more expensive for the consumer because that online retail business is going to put the prices up. So do you fight that, or do you allow it to just kind of happen naturally? Or do you make it easier for the high street? I suppose it's what I'm trying to get at here is like, should the state, should the country, should the government, should the people push for the state to get involved and prevent these negative things from happening, or should we take the agnostic view of like, well, let's let the online retailers take more market share? But then the problem is you've got Big Corp and there's all these things. I suppose it's
what you're talking about there is whether or not the state should intervene, or we should let the market decide what is going to be the next thing. That's something that Daniel Priestley talks about all the time.
Right. Okay. Well, my view is that the state shouldn't intervene.
Yeah, exactly right. So
is that what I don't know?
That's basically right. Yeah, infrastructure. Well, basically, once government and governments and infrastructure and stuff becomes too bloated, you end up overpaying, over subscribing to all these different things. What we should be doing more is letting more of the private sector make the decisions, run the things that we need to run, and that would then set the conditions which would allow things to move in the way that people are wanting them to move, rather than saying, like you're saying, we need to protect the high street, or we need to take these guys down a notch. You would let the consumer, you would let the people decide, actually, what is it that we want as a group? How is it that we want to shop? How is it that we want to go out and eat? You'd be letting the market decide in what it is, where we should be going with certain industries and certain things. As soon as we start interfering.
Yeah. So the high street, for example, the high street of 20 years ago is very different to the high street of today. It's slowly evolving over time. I think we're ending up in a situation where the good high streets, the good villages, the good towns, the good cities that have a really good high street environment where people are going and purchasing. It's more about environment and experience than it is on transacting and buying goods and services in terms of like buying commoditized items. I think people are, when they visit the high street, they're going for the experience and then perhaps willing to pay more for that experience. I don't know, or maybe it is convenience in some scenarios, but I don't think you can fight it. That's what I'm trying to get at here. I don't think the state should intervene and
no, I think it should allow people to decide what they want to do. If you want to go and eat at said restaurant, you go and eat at said restaurant. If lots of people like the food at the said restaurant and the way it's produced and the ambiance it creates and the experience it creates, and people will go there more and it'll be more successful. But some of the things that are stopping them they could be resolved a lot quicker, couldn't they? They could be resolved. They could be made easier.
One of the hardest things to get right in a restaurant or a pub that's serving food is gross profit control on the food itself. Because you can say you've got 4 different chefs, and this is just an example. You've got 4 different chefs, and they're all plating up the same dish on different days of the week. Chef A will give more chips on his plate. Chef B will give smaller chips on his plate. They'll all give different amounts out. And what that does is it impacts the food cost because the price on the menu doesn't change. So you've got these fluctuations in gross profit, which are not being controlled. And that's a very, very common problem in restaurant businesses, is poor food cost control, poor portion size control. And it then massively impacts the bottom line. There's loads of other exacerbating factors, but is that the issue, or is it the VAT?
The highest VAT rate in Europe and the highest energy costs in Europe, and you have to use energy every time you cook something. I think for me that's the big one.
Couldn't agree more. But I'm outlining this as like an example whereby I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to play devil's advocate, if that makes sense. So I agree with what you're saying, and we've talked about this. But should the business owner just be all over the gross profit a bit more and create a situation where, right, the environment, he's got a restaurant and this is the model. The business model needs to evolve, become better. to deal with the things that are outside of the business's control, i.e. the energy and the VAT. And yes, we should campaign and we should shout about it and we should say like, we need better VAT rate, but you can't hold out for that. You need to take action in your business. So my opinion to a certain extent is if there is business owners out there that is like, and maybe that's a bad example, but if similar, let's talk hypothetical, another scenario where like that.
It's not my
Business
fault.
owners-
It's something I can't do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
I know what you mean.
Be fucking accountable. Stand up and be counted and fix the problems in the business, because every business can become better. And I could have a whinge and a moan. So hypothetically, I could have a whinge and a moan and say, well, my advertising spend with Google has increased from 5% 7 years ago to now somewhere between 10 and 15% of my gross turnover, my net turnover, sorry. Oh my God, the model's broken, we can't do it anymore. We need a lower corporation tax rate. We need a lower VAT rate for online retail because Google's taking more of our money. No, what I've done is I've had to offshore, I've had to find economies of scale, I've had to fix other problems in the business. I've had to become more efficient in other areas to allow Google to take a higher percentage of my turnover. So, but then at the same time, other businesses in my space have gone bust and not come back. So my point is that businesses have to evolve, models have to change.
Yeah, they do.
And we need to allow
you dealt the hand.
businesses
You
have
dealt
to
the
fail.
hand. You dealt. Yeah, they do. You dealt the hand. You dealt, aren't you? Those are the conditions you need to make it work within those conditions. If you choose to operate in that space, you need to operate in that space. Like that's how you need to. That's what you need to change. That's how you need to evolve. I mean, to counter that, wouldn't it be lovely if we could just go and like eat out and actually enjoy living on this planet and doing all the doing all the nice things? It would be nice. But I think that you're right. That's important. There's some good examples that are happening around near me at the moment as well, by the way, where people are in that space and they're doing a very, very good job. They're working really hard and they're growing their way out of it and they're changing lots of things. And it's good to see. It's exciting. And guess what? They're winning.
That's my point, is there are eateries, there are food places that have pivoted to maybe a slightly different model and they've got a good profitable business that's doing okay in hard times. But when things get easier and the conditions that are outside of their control change, they'll probably explode and do really, really well. So my point here is I think businesses that are not willing to pivot their model, evolve, change the control costs and things like that in their business, I think they should fail, which is a bit harsh, but business is fucking hard. And like,
it is, I agree. I think you need to evolve. I think you do need to evolve. You need to innovate. We need to be pushing forward all the time. We need to be changing things. We need to be improving the experience. I think that's really important. I think you're right. It shouldn't just be like, well, I run a business. It should be really easy for me.
But basically, I read this article in the Sunday Times that Rishi Sunak had written, and he was talking about this, how we've become a country of moaners and whingers.
Yeah.
And he didn't use that terminology, but that's my interpretation of what he said. And basically, businesses, like, we shouldn't be constantly chopping and changing policy and kind of centralized state involvement within the business and public sector. We should just this is the game, this is the rules set, play. And if businesses and models are not working, they need to fail. And then we need to find businesses and models that do work. And I like, whatever you think of the guy, but I just kind of read it and I was like, yeah, fair point, actually. Like, rather than us being fucking negative all the time and moaning and whinging, we just need to get on with it and find a model that works. That's
but you and I do like to have a moan about it, but there's not once where I've gone, I can't do it because someone else is setting the rules for me and I can't do it. We've not ever been like that. And I don't think you can be like that.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because I think I think on this podcast as well, we need to sometimes remind ourselves and the people listening that actually the whinging and the moan doesn't really get you very far.
No.
I think it's good to be honest and open and for us to have a little bit of a whinging and moan. As well. And I know I'm contradicting stuff that I've said previously, and I think it'd be good if the government or the state were to make things a little bit easier for businesses. But is that maybe it's not a good thing? That's why I'm just playing devil's advocate on the same statistic is what I'm trying to say. Because we did an episode on that particular fact where we were saying, oh no, the state needs to change things. The state needs to make it easier. Well, actually, maybe the business owner needs to make it better.
Yeah, I think
That's my thought.
there's an argument for both, isn't there? Like I said to you before, the rules should be set, the trading conditions should be set, they should be fair, they should be reasonable. We've talked before about the tax rate and what happens to that money. I think that's another argument for another day. But it is fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like we can't.
Yeah.
The public sector can't spend money efficiently. Never has been able to. Never will be able to. It just doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, I think the conditions need to be fair. They need to be reasonable. And then we basically got to say, right, okay, well, here's the rule set. Just fucking play. And if you need to change that and you need to improve things, then you need to improve things, don't you? Otherwise, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, we're facing a decision at the moment on the laptops for our team in India. Do we go with a third party that we pay a premium to, but they handle everything for us? Or do I go, and it's easier for me, no pressure, but it costs more. Or do I make sure that our team and our business is more efficient and we buy the laptops ourselves, or I get someone within the business to manage the security? Maybe we hire someone in India. So I'm going for the harder, more cost-effective route rather than going for the easy, more expensive route. And that's the point I'm making, is businesses make choices like that all the time. And you could say, oh, well, Matt, should you be focused on that? Why don't you just go for the easy route and then focus on growing the business? But maybe in a flat market where the market ain't getting bigger, it's harder to grow. So actually I need to make the savings. So I think businesses need to be frugal and they need to be cute about how they're doing things, and stop fucking whinging and moaning, basically. And blaming other people for your problems, because if you've got problems in your business, ultimately, you can moan until you're blue in the face about it being the state and the government and the economy and all the rest of it. But there's people. I sat talking to a guy in Sauna who's got a recruitment business, and his business is struggling. It's really hard, and I felt really bad for him. He's having to make people redundant. But then, on the other end of the spectrum, I know a guy in recruitment that's absolutely exploding in growth. Phenomenal business. He's hiring people on 6-figure contracts, with bonus schemes. The business is exploding. And I'm like, okay, well, the model obviously isn't broken. Do you know what I mean? Recruitment is not dead.
His model's just better. No, exactly that. No, exactly.
Exactly. So, should we hit with Claw's question of the week?
Yes, please.
And this is really, really, I like this question. So I'm going to ask you first and then I'll answer it. Have you ever kept something going, a product, a hire, a whole part of the business, long after you knew it wasn't working? And then what finally made you kill it?
No, I haven't done yet. I can't. I haven't, I don't think.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you.
I think I'm in the stage of keeping one going that I might need to knock on the head at some point. But I think it's on its last legs, and I'm very aware of it.
Yeah, so that was my next thing, is so you've not done that, but you've potentially gone, you've basically, you've kind of, you're aware that there might be something.
Yeah, well, we're thinking about the same thing. I'm talking about the office and stationery supplies, right?
Yeah. So lower gross profit margin.
Yeah, lower gross profit. Still does deliver some, is hassle, is probably a distraction at this stage. But has been the facilitator to kind of jumpstart where we are with the workwear innovation. It's there. But we are teetering on an edge now, where it's how do we pull the plug on that?
So let me give you an example. Let me give you an example for me that's super relevant to certain businesses that are listening and your business right now. And I probably made the brutal decision earlier than you potentially are going to. So we used to have, when I joined the business, we were doing about 180 grand a year. I joined as an employee. And we're now doing obviously over 8 figures, 100% online. We're about to open a shop. But 50% of that 200 grand a year revenue when I joined the business was, well, I think it's more than that. I think it was 60% of the business was country shows and markets. It was going in a van, selling gear to the punter. And I thought, my opinion at the time, which was controversial, was that this is a waste of fucking time. This is inefficient. This model does not work. So I fought tooth and nail with Mark to stop doing that. And it took me 2 years to get into fully stop, 3 years to get into fully stop. and for him to focus 100% on doing the things that I thought would give the business a better return on the long term. So we basically cut away a big part of our business at that point and went, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to prioritize the online retail. We're going to become experts in online retail. We're going to become really good at it, and we're going to lead the way and innovate within our niche area of country clothing and become the best online retail business there. And I think we're not the biggest, but I think we are the best. And I think we will become the biggest over time. I think in 5-10 years time, it'll be, and we'll have, my aim is to have a monopoly within the country clothing space online, which I think is achievable over the next 10 years. But the key thing that enabled that growth and enabled that was to pick a model and not try and do two things at the same time, because it was two very different businesses with two very different skill sets, with two very different kind of market caps, two completely different businesses. And you can't run that simultaneously when you're only doing $500,000 quid turnover or like 250 grand. You need to pick a model and you need to go after that model. You need to grow it. And then you can add more strings to your bow later down the line. And ironically, we're now doing X million pound turnover, and we're going to open a store, which is probably only going to do 200-300 grand a year turnover, but we're doing it now because we can do it. So that's my thing.
Oh, I'm very aware of ours.
And what made us finally kill it? Because that was the other part of the question. I think for me, that interestingly, that one, it wasn't something that like was prolonged. I knew straight away that I wanted to get rid of it. There's other examples. I could probably answer this more, but I'm not going to. There is other examples where we've done stuff and it's gone on longer than it should. Maybe agency partnerships or things like that where we've allowed too much time. So you do have to be decisive, but you do also have to give things time.
Like our website's one of the examples, isn't it?
Potentially, yeah. Listen, I think we should leave it there. I've done an hour and 1 minute. If anyone's still listening to this rambling, fair play to you. Thank you.
Absolute drivel.
Right, go and listen to a proper business podcast. Like, don't know who, but not this one. I'll be in. I'll be in France.
Next recording session, you won't be.
Yeah, but the one after that. So a couple of weeks, I'll be in sunny France. So I'll try and do it from the pool. Shall I do it in the pool?
Yeah, if you really want to do that and just fucking rub it into everyone as slogging it away here. Yeah. Shitty England. Yeah.
Oh dear. You could do it. You could do it in a. You could get a
I've actually got a paddling pool out here.
Yeah,
it's
so you
pretty
could sit in
dirty
your
'cause it's been
paddling
under
pool.
the tree, but yeah, that's I could do that.
Yeah. Right. Love you, Charlie. Thank you for
Yeah,
listening,
love you
guys.
too,
We'll
mate.
see you on the
Ciao,
next one.
guys. It's coming home.
Is it?